the theme of today's show feels like there's multiple tracks in which the conservatives in this country, Republicans, I don't really know that there's really a distinction at this point, have decided that they have open field, and there is going to be no reason not to let their freak flag fly. So that's on the Supreme Court and their assault on our administrative state. It is the Supreme Court and legislatures around the country on their assault on a woman's right to choose, which is just the beginning. The right to choose an abortion, just the beginning in terms of where they're going in controlling people's sexuality and the destiny of their lives, really, in many respects. And then the other sort of, I guess, stool on that three-legged stool would be the pushing of racism. I want to say anti-immigrant, but I honestly don't think that there's
bigotry in general.
Yeah, I think that's a distinction without a difference, right. Maybe. But we'll talk more about that. But let's talk about one of those. Oklahoma has now passed what is considered the most extensive abortion ban in the country. Listen to this clip.
Can you explain to me why you're okay with a person carrying on a pregnancy after they have been raped or there has been instances of incest? You understand what incest is, correct? You are okay with that?
I am okay with preserving the life of the child. The child was not part of that decision.
You're recognized for a follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Are you aware that children, girls ages 11, 12, and 13 have the ability to become pregnant?
I am aware.
You're recognized for a follow-up.
And are you aware that children who are 11, 12, and 13 have been raped and sexually assaulted, usually by a close family member or somebody close to them? Are you not interested in saving that child's life?
Yes, there is nothing in this bill about taking that child's life.
Representative Munson, you're recognized for a follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No, it is in the bill. Because if a young girl is raped by her uncle, she's likely not going to go report to law enforcement. It's highly unlikely that that's going to happen. She is not allowed or able to seek an abortion under your bill, from what I understand, and you are okay with that.
I am okay with that, and it is also possible that that child could go on to live a life, that the child could be adopted or not, but the child would have a chance at life.
Representative Munson, we're kind of bordering on debate. If we can stick to a question, I'll recognize you for another question on the Senate amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm curious how a 13-year-old child is able to provide and care for a child that they are carrying, or you claim as a child that they're carrying a fetus in their body that has happened because they were raped by somebody. How is that possible? How do they live a good quality of life?
Are you saying that that has never happened?
So smug.
Yeah, there it is. The New York Times wrote it up like this.
Yes, this was ridiculous. You had to get to the fourth paragraph to fully grasp what they were talking about?
Well, this is, it says, the legislation prohibits abortion from the moment of fertilization and relies on lawsuits from private citizens to enforce it. If the governor signs the bill, it would be the nation's strictest measure and would take effect immediately. This is modeled on the Texas law. But I want you to just listen carefully. The legislation prohibits abortion from the moment of fertilization. It is not an abortion from the moment of fertilization. From the moment of fertilization, you're now talking about multiple means of birth control. Fertilization is not even conception. And even after conception, there is no, well, it goes on to say the measure itself, The bill defines an unborn child as a human fetus or embryo in any stage of gestation from fertilization until birth. Well, fetuses and embryos are not part of a stage of gestation from fertilization until birth. You're not even a ballicist. Am I saying that right? Ballicist?
Blastocyst.
A blastocyst, exactly. I've had this problem literally for 40 years in biology in high school. You're not even one of those for like 5 days. You're just like a mass of cells, not too different from like what they cut off if you have if the doctor thinks that you might have like the beginning of skin cancer.
I mean, well, yes. So now you're getting into morning after pill, IUDs, etc. And like, frankly, that's what should be front facing about this. That's why the New York Times article that you cite was frustrating, because this is not just an abortion ban.
Exactly.
It's as you say. And just a critique, and I've made this point a few times, but I understand the highlighting of extreme instances like rape and incest, or incestual rape of a 13-year-old child. That's horrific. And I see that if you're a Democrat in the red state, the value is to highlight the brutality of Republicans. But the reality is that a great majority of abortions that are sought or would have been sought if this abortion ban in Oklahoma, wasn't very likely to go into effect now that the legislature has passed it, don't meet that criteria. And so when you emphasize these extreme instances, you, in my opinion, are making abortion a dirty word, an immoral act, that if you engage in it after, say, you and your boyfriend in your 20s, you're not ready to have a family, well, that should be stigmatized. And so I wish the conversation was framed in a different way, frankly.
I would like to see in those instances, and I agree with you on that. I mean, I think there's some value in bringing that up, but I think really by making that the sole point of argument, you are missing the point of the argument. And really what it should be is we should have lawmakers in those instances questioning the other lawmakers. Why aren't you arresting the mother? Why aren't you arresting? Why is this just about a lawsuit? Why aren't you arresting them? Why aren't we talking about criminal statutes on penalties that will exist for years and years? Why, if this is a person who is being murdered, are you not calling for jail time for mothers? Jail time for parents who bring kids in if they want an abortion. That's the way you do this, because you force them to adopt their own frame, which is that this is murder, this is a person, and that's the way. If you want to bring out that extremism, that's the way you do it, in my estimation.
Yeah, and well, eventually that's what's going to happen if the Republicans gain control of the presidency and there's a federal ban on abortion. They're going to scapegoat black, brown, non-white, non-affluent mothers, go after them by some aggressive AG, I think, in these states on a criminal level. Eventually, I think that's going to be the playbook, but I agree there's value in highlighting it now, getting out ahead of it.
There's apparently been 1,600, since Roe v. Wade, 1,600 women who have been prosecuted in relationship to their, what do you call it, stillborn births, and 1,200 of those have been since the year 2000. It's my understanding. So it's happening, but it should be highlighted that it's happening.
I can already see a case where a woman has a miscarriage, and they're going to claim that the mother was doing drugs, or that she created a hostile environment for the fetus as that fetus's earthly vessel, and that's murder because of that. That's coming.